Hello, and welcome to Viva La Action, the movie podcast where we talk about all things action movies. The good, the bad, and the underrated. My name is Shanty, and with me as always is my co-host, it's Grayson.
Hello.
What's up?
Not much.
We're back in the studio.
And by studio,
we're back in this hot room.
yeah.
With 3 dogs.
Yeah. It's a zoo up in this bitch.
It is a zoo. One of them is running around consistently.
The other one is being old.
Yeah. He's quite old. But he's chilling.
He's chilling. And then the other one is desperately trying to take a nap.
Yeah, but yeah. So that's the status of the room. The hot room.
The hot room.
It's been like 2 months since we've been back in this room.
I know. It's kind of crazy.
It's wonderful.
I know.
I love it in here. I love how hot it is.
Yeah.
I like this window that we can't even see out of.
Yeah. We have a new addition to the room. It's a
neon sign.
It says it's a vibe.
Yes. I like that TV that's really close to your head.
Yeah. I've almost hit my head on this damn thing like so many times. Especially the sharp corner. It's my favorite.
Yeah, it'll take you right out. Just a free lobotomy right there.
True.
But we're back here in this room to talk about a movie.
Yeah, we are.
Which is usually what we do.
That's what we try to do.
Try. Quite frequently. This week, we talked about... Or we didn't... I always say that.
I know.
We didn't talk about it yet. We watched it.
We haven't talked shit.
We watched a movie called... It's from 1985.
Yeah,
and it's called Police Story. And Police Story is a 1985 martial arts action comedy film directed by Jackie Chan with a script by Jackie Chan and Edward Whoa.
Whoa. All right, run it back.
A script by... Oh, my God.
All right, give it a minute.
Holy shit.
Take a sip. Compose yourself.
Sorry, that's a sip of vodka for everybody listening. It's not. It's water. It's plain old water.
Good old
filtered
H2O. Ooh.
Yeah, and from my fridge.
This is water filtered from a Brita.
Oh, very nice. So. Very cool. Anyway, the film was written by Jackie Chan and Edward Tang or Tong. I'm not really sure which way it's pronounced, but the film stars Jackie Chan as Sergeant Kevin Chan Ka Kwai, with support from Bridget Lin, Maggie Chung, Chor Yuen, and Bill Tung. Would you like to guess what Police Story carries on Rotten Tomatoes?
I actually know exactly what it carries. It's a 93.
Oh, man.
Because I was like looking it up, and I just happened to see the score. So.
Oh, that's okay.
But if I didn't know, I probably would have guessed like high 80s.
Like high 80s, low 90s.
Yeah.
Do you know what the audience score is?
That I don't know.
If you had to guess.
I think they're pretty close to the critics, but not as high. I'm going to say like mid 80s.
Yeah, pretty much. It's 88%.
Okay.
So high 80s.
High 80s.
Which is about what you'd expect.
Yeah.
Also, what you'd expect, this movie does not pass the Bechdel test.
Not even a little.
It gets close.
Yeah.
There's technically 2 women.
True.
And they share a scene together.
Yes.
But they are talking about Jackie Chan.
Yes.
So, yeah, unfortunately, it does not pass the test, but it gets close.
Yeah.
Deserves credit for trying, I guess.
If they were trying.
If they were trying, which I don't think they were, but we'll talk about it. And finally, the plot synopsis, which I have taken from the Internet Move.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. Cut it out. We're going home. Split podcast over for the rest of the time.
Yeah.
From IMDb, the Internet Movie Database.
Is that what that stands for?
Yeah. You didn't know that?
No.
Yep.
I thought it was just a stupid set of letters. No. I didn't realize it was an actual acronym. God, nope. Maybe I'm stupid.
Did you know that, speaking of acronyms, did you know that base jumping is an acronym?
What?
Yep. You know, like base jumping? Like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Whatever. That's an acronym. I can't remember what it stands for at this exact moment.
You're lying to me.
I'm not lying to you. While you look that up, the plot synopsis from IMDb: a virtuous Hong Kong police officer must clear his good name when the drug lord he is after frames him for the murder of a dirty cop. Bum.
That's, pretty much it.
Sort of. I feel like that's like the last like third of the movie. That's not like the main thrust of the plot, really.
That's the dumbest acronym ever.
What?
It stands for Buildings, Antennas, Spans, and Earth. That's stupid.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's what it stands for.
I hate that.
I didn't make it.
I didn't say you made it. I just said I hate it.
Stop blaming me.
I'm not blaming you.
It wasn't me. Before we get into the... We're not... Whoa. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
It has been a minute since we've been like in person. There's not really much to spoil.
No.
The premise of the film kind of like that IMDb synopsis kind of spoils the only thing you can spoil in this. So we're not going to worry about it too much, but just before we get into like sort of the more nitty gritty stuff, what did you think of this movie?
I liked it. I thought it was fun. So when I was looking for it, I found it for free on YouTube.
Yeah,
but it was dubbed.
Yeah,
and I was like, ooh, and it was like bad dubbing.
It's a bad dubbing.
It was really bad. But it was on Max.
Yes.
So I just watched it there in the original Cantonese with the English subtitles.
Yeah, it's much better.
Oh, it was fantastic. But no, I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it. I like that it was like, under 2 hours.
Yes.
Yes, I do like it. I thought it was fun. I love Jackie Chan.
Yeah,
he's like one of my all-time favorite actors.
Yeah.
I know last time in our little preview you said you're going to ruin him for me, so I'm very sad about that. And I'm enjoying this while I can.
No, I'm not going to ruin him. I will later in the episode, just to preface it for all the Jackie Chan lovers out there. I'm just going to talk about some stuff.
Yeah.
And it makes him a more complicated person.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's an actor alive who is like perfect,
Yeah.
You get some who are close.
Yeah.
But nobody is like without fault.
Yeah.
So it's just stuff that's like important to think about, I guess.
No, that's fair. But yeah, no, I Jackie Chan, I mean, I loved him in I think the biggest thing I've seen him in is Shanghai Noon.
Yeah.
And Shanghai Nights. Noon is better.
Yeah.
Than Nights. But yeah, he's a really funny guy. And he's a very good martial artist.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah, I love this. It was fun.
Yeah, it's great. And it should be given credit for this movie to a huge extent, but also just his movies in general. They kind of created what we think of as like the modern action movie, right? Like this like stunt heavy, very frenetic, like fast paced kind of movie, right? And it is a martial arts movie, but there's a lot more to the action than just punch-ups. There's a lot going on, and he kind of invented that style of fighting, which is, it's sort of like a more playful version of what Jason Bourne does.
Yeah.
Which is where he's like running around and, he's just picking stuff up and using it, and he's like sliding around, and like especially towards the end of the movie, there's a lot of use of like props. Like, he's on like a coat rack and he's spinning around, and so he should be credited with, rightly so, sort of reinventing the wheel in that regard. And I think this is just a very good, fun movie.
Yeah.
It's not my personal favorite Jackie Chan movie, but
no. Well, and especially for a movie from 1985.
Yeah.
It was really well done.
It is. And I think it's better. I mean, your opinion's going to be mixed based on I think, what you see first.
Yeah.
But for me, I like this and most of his Hong Kong films a lot more than all of his American stuff.
That's fair.
I feel like his American films, he's often sort of handicapped by sort of American sentiments, I guess. Like, there's much more of an emphasis in his American films on, I don't know, they're just not the same, right? Like, his process, especially like when he's directing, is like, you do things over and over and over and over until it's perfect.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, in the U.S., you can't really do that.
Yeah.
Just because of budget constraints and the way that the unions work and everything in the U.S. Whereas in Hong Kong, especially in the 80s, yeah,
you could just kind of do whatever you wanted.
Can. If you want to throw a stuntman off a ceiling, there's not really much you can do except ask his permission.
Yeah.
So we'll discuss all of that more in depth. But yeah, I think it's a great movie. I think it's a good watch.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are people who will be put off by subtitles, but that's just people who
learn to read, bitch.
Yeah, just learn to read. It's not. And also, I think there is some like outdated humor and attitudes, but I mean that just comes with time. Like it's not like I'm like trying to cancel Jackie Chan over here. It's just, you know, it is what it is.
It's a product of its time.
He's 70. Like, it's you just.
He's 70?
Yeah.
Oh, good lord.
Well, he's been acting since the 60s.
What?
Yep.
What?
Yep.
That's some bullshit.
We'll talk about it. So
yeah.
God
damn.
From this point, we'll get into more of the like intense stuff, I guess. Intense discussion. We're breaking out a tent. We're building it. We're gonna get in the tent, and we're gonna have an intent discussion.
But oh, and now there's a giant hook coming off stage right, and whoop.
I'm being dragged off. Yeah. So, what would you recommend somebody watch this film, having never seen it before?
Yeah, I would say so. I think it's a good fun time. If for whatever reason you're a big stickler for subtitles, don't be.
Yeah,
just grow the fuck up.
Yeah.
It's not that big a deal.
No.
Because I think it's a really good watch.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's some outdated stuff, so I would maybe just recommend it with some warnings about that. But yeah, for the most part, if you like martial arts films and you like Jackie Chan, I think it's a solid watch, and I would recommend it. Yeah,
and I think too, if you're interested in like, you know, if you like those sort of stunt heavy action films, like a John Wick, for example, or something like that, I think you should watch this and kind of see where all of that came from. Yeah. Right? And I think you'll enjoy it regardless. It's just it's brisk. You know, it moves by really quick.
Yep.
係咪咧？掉咗你唔好講嘢㗎啦！點啊？哎呀，喂老友，我個仔啊，你個仔，哎呀，山車門，
Round two.
Round two.
Fight. Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding. And I just murdered Grayson. No.
Ah, damn.
So there's an opening for a co-host. If anybody wants to join a middling podcast. Middling to bad. We trended in South Africa. Did you see that?
Oh, good for us.
Very briefly. Like
excellent.
Very short window.
What part of South Africa?
No idea. It's just South Africa.
Just South Africa.
Just the country of South Africa.
All right.
Anyway.
Excellent. Well, shout out to South Africa. Thank you for listening.
Yep. I can speak. Yeah, you did like. I love Seether, the band Seether.
There you go.
South African band.
I think Cape Cod is in South Africa, right?
Yes.
That's the only place.
No, not Cape Cod.
Wait.
Cape Town.
Cape Town.
Yes,
that's right.
Yeah.
It's a cape.
Cape Cod, I think, is in like the northern U.S. It's in
Oops.
What is it?
My bad.
Not Maryland. The Maine. I think Cape Cod's in Maine. Maybe. We're gonna get dragged by the whole world.
I know. It's Peninsula in Massachusetts.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the farthest from southern Africa that you can get.
Southern tip of Africa. That's okay. Anyway.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We've been canceled.
Hey, it could have been worse. I could have said like Cape Canaveral or some
That's
shit.
true. Yeah, that's true. Okay. Anyway, Jackathan Chanathan.
Yes.
So he came from what's called the Peking Opera School, which, if you don't know what that is, it's basically opera school. So he learned how to... Well, it's different. Like, if we think of opera here in the U.S., you think of, like, a guy in a wig and, like, you know, belting out a ballad, right?
Yeah.
Opera in China is a little bit of a different thing. Peking opera. It's more of, like, what we would think of as, like, Cirque du Soleil, right? So it's a lot of, like, there's music and whatever, but it's a lot of acrobatics and theater and that sort of thing. So Jackie Chan went there with a couple of other guys. The two most notable ones are Sammo Hung, who is also an actor, director, and then Yun Biao, who, same thing, he's, you know, and they all kind of like, they're sort of seen as like the three amigos of the Hong Kong film industry. So nice. They've all been like in each other's movies and whatever. But anyway, so Jackie Chan originally started like, because he's obviously a very good acrobat, right? He's not really a martial artist. He is, like, he knows martial arts, but he's more known for his stunt work.
Yeah.
And so he got his start as a stunt man. Like, he was in a bunch of Bruce Lee movies. He's in just a bunch of stuff. And he had a contract with this one director, or not director, producer, who he did a couple of films with. And then eventually he got out of the contract that he was in and he moved over to Golden Harvest, which is the production company you see right at the start.
Oh, gotcha.
It's got that great sort of square logo and that very lovely, just that crisp, like analog logo, which I love.
Yeah.
But the producer Raymond Chow, who ran Golden Harvest, he's sort of the one that like handed Jackie Chan the reins and was like, you do whatever you want, basically. Yeah. So he did a couple of movies. I think it was like Drunken Master, like Fearless Hyena, Snake and Eagle's Shadow. Like he did these like sort of more martial arts ones, and then he brought it to like sort of the modern day films. And he was getting popularity, and he like first attempted to get into U.S. movies, like just before Police Story. Mm-hmm. And he kind of hated it. He did this movie called The Protector, which didn't do very well, and he just like had a terrible time. So he came back to Hong Kong, and he was like, all right, I'm going to do my thing again. And that's where Police Story comes from. So
nice.
That's what brings us to this. So one of the things I think is interesting is if you look at it, Police Story, the way it was written was they were like, all right, we want this set piece, we want this stunt, and we want this set piece and this stunt. Let's write a movie around it. And so the plot is sort of like very loosey-goosey.
Yeah.
Like it's sort of like not that like hard to follow, but it is sort of like it starts over here and then you're like in a completely different place by the end.
Yeah.
And it sort of ends how it starts, I guess. Like it opens with this particular guy getting arrested. And then it ends with that guy also getting arrested again.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah, it happens.
But I think that opening sequence is literally like unreal. It is so insane.
It's bonkers.
And I cannot believe nobody died.
I know. I was going to say, because they're... So, first of all, basically what happens is the police force is basically going to break up this drug ring.
Yeah.
They're going to arrest a bunch of guys, right? And we see them kind of go through the game plan.
Yeah.
And then they all get to their stations, and then chaos ensues.
Yes.
And in one part, they're... Jesus fuck. The guy... is being followed by Jackie Chan in a car, and they're going downhill through these houses.
It's sort of like a shanty town.
Yeah. And as they're literally driving through the buildings, like they're not trying to avoid these.
No.
They're like beelining just straight down the mountain, and whatever's in their way
Yeah.
is not going to be there anymore.
And it is just exploding.
And I was going to say, as they're going through these buildings, each building explodes.
Yes, it's glorious.
And I was sitting there and I was like, what is in all of these houses?
I don't know.
That's causing these minor explosions all the time. That all that needs to happen is a car running through it. It was amazing.
It's genuinely like the most insane shot I think I've ever seen in a movie. Like,
wild.
Genuinely, I'm not even like, the whole time you're watching it, you're like, how did no one die?
Yeah.
Like, you see stuntmen leaping out of the way of a car that is going 60 miles an hour. Minimum, and exploding. And there's like wood chips flying everywhere.
There's metal pieces, because it's corrugated. Like the roofs are like corrugated steel.
Yeah,
and they're like basically death frisbees, just flying around.
The fact no one was beheaded or impaled is insane.
It's wild.
Like the reason, people say sometimes like, oh, you could never make that movie today, right? Or like you couldn't make this one today because it's a fucking disaster. Like. The idea that you'd be like, all right, you're going to stand there, and you've got about half a second to jump out of the way, or you will be beheaded, impaled, and run over.
Yeah, and then on top of that, exploded.
And it exploded,
So, good luck.
Yeah, have fun.
Yeah, and you don't have a union.
Yeah.
Remember that.
Remember that. You get half a day's pay for this. If you get injured, you're fired.
Yeah.
It's like...
Yep. Yeah, so...
But it looks insane.
It looks crazy.
It's cool and it looks amazing, but you're watching it and I just felt like afraid.
Dread.
This movie was made 29 years ago. You're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
How did no one die?
Yeah, it's...
Or 39 years ago, excuse me.
39, that's...
85, right?
Yeah.
Almost 40. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. Also, those cars are fucked by the end. Like by the time they get down the hill, they are just like not running.
I like to imagine that about halfway down, they just no longer needed to use the gas pedal.
Yeah.
Because gravity was doing all the work and there was nothing left in the car to actually either prevent it from slowing down or speed it up.
Yeah.
It was just in the hands of gravity now.
Yeah.
And that's why they're like, okay, so we're going to have them go down the hill, and in the event that they can't stop, we need like another hill on this side that they can crash into head on to stop.
Yeah.
And then some jackass is like, oh, I got it. That one right there.
Yeah.
And then, sure enough, they finish and crash at full speed.
Mm-hmm.
Like they didn't slow down, they just full speed, head-on collision into this other mountain.
Yeah.
And then everybody walks away from it. And you're like, how?
Must be some really good airbags in those 1980s Corollas they're throwing down.
That never deployed. You're right.
Also, my favorite thing, I always say my favorite thing. One of my favorite things. It has that thing from, especially Hong Kong movies, but any 80s action movie where they're doing a wide shot of the car going down the hill.
Yep.
And you can see, because the windshield is probably busted out.
Yeah.
There's no one in the car.
No.
Right? Like, they just shoved it down a hill. And so you're like, there's no one in the car. And then the car comes to a stop, it cuts, and then suddenly somebody gets out of the car.
Yeah.
I just think that's fun.
It's very fun.
Like, if you're not paying attention, you probably don't notice, but I'm like waiting. I'm like, where's the guy not in the car? You know?
Yeah. Also, all of the, like, gun, like the shooting scenes.
Yeah.
Those were also absurd.
Oh, yes.
Because nobody was holding the gun like a human holds a gun.
Yeah.
And they were like not being steady. They were like doing this and then firing.
Yeah.
Hoping to God something hits.
One thing you have to get used to with Hong Kong action films, especially ones from the 80s and 90s and the 70s, there's a lot of flailing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just because like that's sort of the style, but there's like somebody gets hit, they don't just fall. They like fling themselves and their arms are flying everywhere.
Well, did you see at the end like all the like behind the scenes stuff?
Yes, yeah.
There's a shot of Jackie Chan like directing one of the guys that's like falling in that mall or whatever.
Yeah.
and like you don't hear anything. You see him talking to this guy,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden he does this with his arms,
Yeah.
and then it cuts to them filming that
Yeah.
scene, and that guy does that.
Right. Well, I mean, I think one thing I like about it is they really are selling like this sort of hyper real,
Yeah.
violence, and like, that's not to say that like, you wouldn't believe it if they weren't doing that, but there is something fun about like, we're in this sort of not really the real world. And so when somebody gets hit and they are just like flailing their arms and exploding, it's kind of fun because it's like, yeah, you would do that if you got hit that hard, I guess.
Yeah.
Man, there's so many shots where like, because again, you have to remember, like, especially if you mostly watch movies made after 2000, there is no like special effects in this.
Yeah.
Like
that's insane.
There's squibs and stuff, but like
Yeah.
the fact that you'll see a man fall off a roof and he just fucking hits the ground. That is a man jumping off a roof and hitting the ground.
Yeah.
And he might have some pads on, but that's it. Like, he's hitting the ground.
Yeah. They hadn't invented the crash mat yet.
No, they hadn't invented... Well, they had crash mats, and a lot of times they're under the floor, right? Like, you can't see it because it's been, like, painted over. But the point still stands. That is a man falling 20 feet and hitting the dirt. Like,
which is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Did you ever see that episode of Mythbusters where they, like, did stunts?
No.
It was really interesting because they talked to a stunt guy.
Yeah.
And they were, like, doing this... I forget exactly what the myth was. But they had to... I think it was from, like, a James Bond movie or something. But basically... Or was it The Matrix? I don't know. It was some movie where they had to, like, jump off of a building into a dumpster.
Oh, okay.
And so Adam was learning how to jump and fall into a dumpster.
Yeah.
With all of this, like, it was basically just filled with foam.
Yeah.
And it was fascinating how all of that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I could never do it.
Oh, God, no.
He would, like, it was a fairly short jump that they were doing in that episode.
Yeah.
I think it was only, like, 15 or 20 feet.
Jeez.
But, like, imagine going higher, because there are some stunt guys that I'm sure have jumped higher than that.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, it's one thing for, like, a diver to jump into water.
Yeah.
Because, like, you're jumping into a pool, and that thing is huge, and it's super deep.
Yeah.
Not a lot of room for error, as long as you don't, like, belly flop.
Right.
But, man, jumping off of a building onto a crash mat or, like, into a dumpster filled with foam... That's terrifying.
Yeah, and it's like, because I've watched a lot of like interviews with stunt people. They always talk about how you might be 100 feet up and you look down, and they'll like, because they'll prepare a crash mat or for a jump that high, it would be like you said, like a foam pit, and it's like it's huge, but when you're on the ground, it's 20 feet across.
Right.
But when you're that high up, it's just a little dot, right?
Yeah, it's like $1 bill, and you're like, how am I supposed to hit that?
Right, and so there's that moment of like, I could miss, stepping off of this, even if you're wearing a wire.
Yep.
There's a chance you just hit the ground and just you're gone.
That's it. GG's.
And it has happened. People have really maimed themselves doing stunt work. So it's definitely not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
And even though I do complain a lot about CGI, I'm all in favor of using it if it makes people safer. You know what I mean? Like, I'm happy to not have people be impaled and paralyzed and whatever.
Yeah.
But there is something special about watching Jackie Chan hang off the side of a bus by an umbrella and just know that if he would have slipped, he would have been dead.
Hey,
like, there's something special about that.
Or like when he in the mall, when he like holds onto that wire or whatever, or pole, and slides down it through all the electrical bullshit.
Well, yeah. It's funny you bring that up because he did almost die doing that. It's sort of the famous like stunt of this movie. So if you watch the behind the scenes, there's a shot where you see somebody being carted away, and they've got like like the cast on. That's Jackie Chan. So apparently what happened is there's the pole and it crashes through what's called sugar glass.
Oh, yeah.
Which is exactly what it sounds like. It's glass that's made to break away really easily. It's stunt glass basically.
Yeah. And it's not sharp, right?
No,
it doesn't shatter.
It's made to disintegrate basically. Which is why when you're watching a movie and somebody punches through a window, it doesn't become edges. It becomes, like dust basically. But anyway, so there's like layers of that he's supposed to crash through. Well, what happened is the lights that were wrapped around it were really hot. And so they heated the pole to a degree where when he grabbed it and slid down, he got second-degree burns on his hands.
God.
In addition to, he was going so fast that when he hit the ground, he dislocated his pelvis.
Ooh.
Yeah. Because again, he didn't crash into a mat. He crashes through this glass and then he hits like a what's probably like cardboard boxes or whatever at the bottom. So he did all that nonsense. And thankfully it was like at the end of production because they shot this linearly.
Okay.
So he didn't have to shoot it anymore after that. But he nearly died doing this. He's nearly died like 100 times doing stunts.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, he's a crazy person.
He is quite insane.
And he's 70 now, so I don't think he's doing much of that anymore.
No.
But, crazy person.
That's insane.
I know. That's kind of the main reason I wanted to talk about this. I'm like, because you're watching it, and when you're just watching it as a movie, you're like, this is great, it's fun, it's whatever. But when you watch it knowing that it's real people putting themselves in real harm, or in real harm's way, it kind of adds this whole layer of like, Jesus Christ.
These people are like crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of insane.
Yeah.
And it is inspired by like silent movie, sort of like vaudeville kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you watch like a Buster Keaton movie, which we will do eventually.
Hell yeah.
We talked about doing like a silent movie, special. It is basically just that, it's like a guy and he's like hopping off a train, or it's a guy and he's like on a high wire across two buildings or whatever. And that's all Jackie Chan is doing. It's just he's doing it in like a martial arts context,
Yeah.
But that fight in the mall is incredible. Like just from start to finish, I think is amazing.
It's really good. I think one of the funniest fights was because, so Jackie Chan has to like, he's like assigned to protect this witness or something. It's not a witness, just like
she's sort of a witness.
Sort of a witness. But she has to testify against like the head of this drug, whatever.
Right. She's like his girlfriend.
They're not what?
The drug guy's girlfriend.
Oh, yeah.
Not his girlfriend.
No, I was like, what the fuck?
He does have a girlfriend.
He does,
but they're two different characters.
Yes. Yeah, it's like his girlfriend, also secretary. I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, he's like assigned to protect her because they need her to testify in court, yada yada.
Testify. Yeah, Rage Against the Machine song.
Yeah. God damn it.
Anyway, go ahead.
And she's adamant that she doesn't need protecting, and she's like being a total bitch about it.
Jesus.
She's like, shut the fuck up and go away.
Yeah.
Which, fair.
Yeah.
But also, drug lords are crazy.
Yeah.
And they'll kill you.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I lost a jelly bean.
Oh no.
Keep talking.
And to like convince her that she needs protecting, Jackie Chan's character hires this other cop to like pretend to be this crazy guy that wants to like kill her.
Yeah, and he's wearing like a sort of like Michael Myers-esque like mask. Yeah.
And I was watching this and I was like, ain't no way that's like somebody that actually wants to kill her.
Right, yeah, because he's going out of his way to like not kill her.
Yeah. And I was like, if you just spent like a second looking at this dude, you'd be like, oh no, yeah, you're just some guy.
Yeah.
But Jackie Chan then like enters the home to like quote unquote protect her. It's just the funniest because like every time they like get in this like scuffle, the guy's like, "Oh, when can I leave?"
Yeah,
and Jackie's just like, "Oh, you just leave whenever. I don't care. Just make it look real."
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought this was pretty good. She hits him over the head twice.
Yeah.
And then Jackie Chan has to like fight him while he's unconscious.
Yeah, it's very good.
It is. Man, Jackie Chan's a funny dude.
He's very funny. He's got a great sense of humor, like a great comedic timing.
Yeah.
I think not all of the jokes land. Like,
no,
there are 3 separate pie in the face gags that I don't think. Like, I think the first one is kind of funny, but then it gets kind of old by the third one.
Yeah.
Which is like whatever, it doesn't
also,
really matter.
Where do they get all of that?
I don't know.
Like, I know the first one, surprise party, makes sense. They had a cake.
Yeah.
Second one, homie just shows up to his house, and his plan was to not present his friend whose birthday it was with a cake. It was to friend opens the door and then cake and face.
Yeah. And then the third one, because he's like, he doesn't know that his girlfriend is there.
Yeah.
And he's pretending to be on the phone with her.
Yeah. Oh, right.
And then, like, he's like, whatever. And then she turns around, picks up the cake off the floor, and shoves it in his face.
Oh, I thought it was a brand new cake.
No, it's a different cake. Yeah. It's the same cake twice.
Wow.
But yeah, the scene where she hits him over the head twice is very funny.
It's incredible.
That guy definitely has brain damage.
Oh, 100%. I think the funniest scene, though, was in the police station with all the phones.
Oh, yes. That is such a good gag. Like, he keeps being like, hold on one second, and he picks up a new phone, and he's like getting the crimes mixed up.
Yeah. Because like some dude lost his cow, but then also a woman got
like
raped.
Sexually assaulted. Yeah.
And so he has both phones, and he forgot which one was the cow and which one was the sexual assault.
Yeah.
So he goes into both of them, and he's like, which one of you got sexually assaulted? And then the dude that lost the cow goes, I lost a cow. Yeah. He's like, all right, cool.
And he's like telling them, call this number, you go here. And then he's like...
And then he starts hanging up the wrong phones on the wrong, like, thing. That was spectacular.
It's good. Yeah, it's a very funny, like, it's just good comedy.
Yeah.
Also, he's, like, making noodles on the floor for some reason, which I was like, you don't have a break room? Like,
yeah, no, apparently not.
I guess not.
Yeah.
Just make floor ramen. That's fine.
I make floor ramen.
Yeah. There's also a stunt where him and his girlfriend nearly get hit by a car.
Yo.
And if you watch that, you're like, man... If they had waited like 2 more seconds, they would have been flattened by that car.
Creamed. Was that where he was in the phone booth?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was... Why didn't he put the fucking thing in...
I don't know. Well, doesn't he say something like the brakes don't work very well or something?
Yeah, that makes sense.
There's also a scene... So, there's a sort of a famous fight scene where he's like escaping with the witness after he's like faked that attack.
Yeah. And
he's in the parking lot and he's not really paying attention because she's saying whatever to him. And then he hits what he thinks is a baby.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Or like a baby in a bassinet.
Yeah.
Or a, what do you call it? Stroller. And when you first watch it, and before you know that it's like a guy who's like there to attack them, you're like, holy shit.
They just ran over a baby.
Run over a baby?
Hey, because they hit that bitch hard.
Yeah, it goes flying.
Yeah, I was...
But then it's just a dude with a gun, which is like, that's fine. Or he's got like a piece of wood or something. I don't know.
Something. Whatever.
Which is it's a great fight scene.
Oh,
like
it's
they're
incredible.
fighting around the car. I don't know how many panes of glass... I should have taken account, like, of how many panes of glass are broken in this movie.
Yeah.
Because he throws, like, 2 different guys through the windshield, which I just think is fantastic.
Did you notice that after that fight when they were driving away, they had bungeed the car door to the roof?
Yes, yeah.
That was hilarious.
I think that's good.
Also, how hard were those guys getting hit that they were denting the roof of that car?
Yeah, I don't know.
That was insane.
I mean, the roof of modern cars is reinforced, but I think in the 80s it was just a piece of sheet metal, basically. Yeah,
yeah.
I don't think it really had much structural integrity.
Yeah.
You ever seen a car from the 80s get hit? It's just like the front just like dents, and then the roof just caves in. So
yeah,
people were just getting crushed.
Yeah,
back in the day.
And with no seatbelts too, or like
Yeah.
shitty seatbelts, it was like,
Yeah, the car was getting crushed, and you were getting flung out the front windshield
yeah.
to your death.
Yeah.
So I guess it's good there was nobody in those cars when they flung them off that hill.
True.
But,
True.
Yeah. I don't know.
That was wild.
It is wild. It's a good movie.
I will say that it was very smart of her after she learned that like she had been punked the first time with that fake dude that was trying to kill her.
Yeah.
To tape over his initial, because he had like they were driving home after that big fight, and he had her testify on the little recorder just in case anything happened. And then when she found out she was punked back at his apartment, she like, and I thought this was so funny. She like did this entire, and I didn't quite understand what the hell she was doing at first.
Yeah.
And we find out later what it was, because she's like sitting. She like sat on this cactus that he owns.
Yes, yeah.
And she's like making all this like sexual noises and innuendos and stuff, and making it like super weird. And I was like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Well, when they end up in court, because she like runs away, and they can't find her, so Jackie Chan's like, well, at least I got this recording.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, something bad's gonna happen. I don't know what it is, but like she ran away, something bad's gonna happen.
Yeah.
We find out that she had taped over her initial testimony.
Yes.
With all of those sexual, so it sounded like they were just fucking.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's so smart.
Yes.
Good on her.
There's sort of a repeated gag where Jackie Chan's character is like just on the verge of making up with his girlfriend, and then like something happens to like piss her off again.
Yeah.
So like the initial thing is like he shows up and at the surprise party, and he's got the witness with her, and she thinks like he's cheating on her or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, then, like, they're just about to make up, and then he does, like, the stupid thing on the phone.
Yeah.
He nearly gets her hit by the car.
Oh, and then in the shower.
In the shower. Yeah, it's just the whole thing is just, like, a nonsensical whatever. But, yeah. I'm like, why would you still be with him by the end?
Yeah,
I'd
like, dump his ass.
Just dump his ass.
Speaking of being in danger, when she, like, when the girlfriend is, like, leaving and he's, like, chasing after her on the fucking moped, that thing, like, going in... I was like... So I half expected that thing to take off and for her to let go.
Yeah, I know.
It was terrifying.
Yeah,
or for like her to like trip up and like have it get caught on some of her clothing, and then she just like runs herself over with it.
Yeah, she's nearly like decapitated by him.
Yeah, that was terrifying.
Yeah. Also, she gets thrown down some stairs at the end.
That was rough. 'Cause she hits hard.
Yeah. There's a lot of people getting thrown down some stairs.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of police brutality in this film, which is like, it's played for laughs, but he really wallops the dude at the end.
Yeah.
And the police chief is like, I didn't see nothing. And I'm like, okay.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway.
Nothing has changed since.
No. And yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to talk about it. You forced me to talk about it. Yeah, that's kind of the thing is like, the Hong Kong police force isn't known for being super kind.
Nope.
And so it is kind of ironic to have this, like, it's played for laughs that they're committing police brutality when it's like in reality they kind of are doing that.
Propaganda.
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I mentioned last week and I mentioned this week is, if you talk about Jackie Chan, I think if there's one thing you should rightly criticize him, well, it's two things. One, I think his film output after he goes to America and he does like Rush Hour and whatever, when he comes back to Hong Kong, it's after the acquisition or the returning of Hong Kong to China.
Yeah.
Right. So you have this period where Hong Kong is a British territory, and you've had like some transitionary years where Hong Kong is in the process of becoming part of mainland China, which is kind of where we are now. And I think since he came back and that process has started, I think his film output has gotten worse.
Really?
And I think it is just because the main thing is he's very friendly with the CCP, right? Which we talked about this when we talked about Yip Man and Donnie Yen. If you're a major star in Hong Kong, you sort of have this choice you got to make, right? And you know, this isn't to say like the U.S. doesn't have problems. Like, obviously we do.
Yeah.
But if there's one thing that China has as a problem, it is that their government does not like to be criticized.
Yeah.
And especially if you're a working actor, your choices are either you side with the CCP and you know, become sort of their spokesperson, or you criticize them and you basically don't work anymore.
Yeah.
And we saw that when we talked about that first Yip Man film a long time ago. The main actor in that, he basically doesn't work anymore, right? He's moved to Taiwan and he kind of gets some stuff there, but he doesn't really work in China.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the dilemma they face. So that is to be empathetic to him. To not be empathetic is to say that he has touted a lot of stuff that is like just not great. You know, it's just like, and he is a very charitable person. You know, he's done a lot of good in this world, but I do think you should rightly criticize Jackie Chan for sort of being this like
puppet.
Yeah, of like, you know, a lot of his films now are sort of these propaganda films.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of these movies where, you know, he's a military guy or he's whatever, and the Chinese party is so great and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I think he's also done some rewriting of his own history where, because one of the things with Jackie Chan is he's got two kids. He's got a son named JC, and then he has a daughter, and his daughter is from an extramarital affair. So he cheated on his wife something like 30 years ago. And he's claimed that's the only time it's happened, you know, whatever.
Yeah, okay.
But during that affair, he had a daughter with this woman, and for various reasons, they haven't really had contact, and she doesn't really know him. But one of the things is that his daughter is a lesbian, right?
Okay.
And she has come out recently and said that she was kicked out of home by her mom for being gay. And for Jackie Chan's part, he's never come out and said that he's against it. Like, you know, I think one time he was asked about it and he was like, well, if she likes it, that's fine. But he does not provide for her, right?
Gotcha.
And he's been very clear, like they're estranged, they don't whatever. And it's just kind of weird that he's made like movies in recent years where he has a daughter in the film. Yeah. And he's like, oh, I've got this daughter and I love my daughter. But then in real life, he like doesn't.
Yeah.
And so it feels like this weird, like he's trying to like rewrite his own history. Yeah, I don't know. He's a complicated person. And just people are complicated. And that's just how that works.
Well.
And the Chinese film market is complicated. Like, it's hard for us from over here to be like, you shouldn't do that, right?
Yeah.
Like, we have movies that are propaganda films.
Oh, 100%.
1,000%. But the difference is our government doesn't, at least outwardly, control the film industry, right? Like, they regulate it, but it's not like you can't make a movie unless you follow these guidelines, right? Like,
yeah, you can't talk shit about us.
Yeah, if you want to create a film in the U.S. that criticizes the central government, you can do that.
Yeah.
And you're not in danger of going to jail or whatever.
It's part of our, and the right-wing fascists don't understand this. It's part of our First Amendment rights, right? You're protected from saying things, and the government can't tell you no.
Right. Now, you can still be under fire from the public, but you can't go to jail for it, basically.
I can, on this podcast right here, I can say Trump is a big old dickhead and I want to kick his teeth in.
Yeah.
The government can't do shit to me.
That's right.
That's my right to say that.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody wants to beat me up for that, that's their right, kind of. They'll go to jail for assault, but that's neither here nor there.
And I can come out and say that the Democrats are a pack of cowards.
Yo, 100%. Yeah.
That being said, they can't send me to jail for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas in China, it is a different thing. You know, China has a history. And again, I'm speaking as somebody who is a little bit ignorant on this, but I know enough to know it's sort of like with Russia. Journalists have a history of going missing.
Yep.
You know, people who criticize the government have a history of ending up in prison or in a camp or in whatever.
Yep.
So again, I empathize with the idea of you've gotten to this point in your career. Either you toe the line and you do what you got to do and you keep your career, you know, whatever, or you flip it the other way, and
Right.
you
Yep.
risk everything, you know?
Yep.
So I don't begrudge him necessarily.
Yeah.
I think it is a sort of cowardly move, but on
It
the
is.
same token, I can't begrudge him that because I'm like,
Yeah.
well, none of us know what we do in that scenario.
It's a tough
it's a tough call.
Yeah, it's a tough position to be in. It sucks that he kind of caved and
Yeah. And that's the thing is like people like him, people like Donnie Yen, you know, they have this reputation in the US as, you know, this whatever and I
Yeah.
think there is a naivety to it to be like, oh, these guys are so cool and wholesome and whatever, and it's like they're great, don't get me wrong. I love Donnie Yen. I think he's one of the best actors of his generation.
Yeah.
But he does have a complex relationship with the government of China. And that's
Right.
just something you have to be aware of.
Yeah.
No one is immune from propaganda.
Exactly. Correct.
And the more you're aware of it, the more you can look out for it. And that's just important.
Yeah, and try and combat it.
Yeah. And that's propaganda for your own country, and that's propaganda for other. We talked, like, the first episode we ever did was on Triple R, which, like it or hate it, it is sort of a propaganda piece, right?
Yep.
It is sort of this fluff piece of Indian culture and, you know, Hindu pride and, like, all this stuff. And again, we have that in the U.S. We've talked about, like, the movie we just talked about, that stupid sniper movie.
Oh, that
is propaganda, you know?
Yep, U.S. Like, look at any really military movie. Even, like, I would argue Transformers.
Transformers is 1,000% military
Right?
propaganda.
Like, especially that first movie.
Yes.
Holy shit.
Well, Michael Bay famously has an agreement with the U.S. military that if he portrays them in a positive light, he does not have to pay to use military vehicles, right?
Wow.
So tanks,
Yeah.
you know, army vehicle, whatever, he can blow up as many as he wants as long as he doesn't portray them negatively.
That's where all, like, $2 trillion of our military budget goes to is just Michael Bay movies.
Well, but if you think about it, for them, that's worth the money, right?
Yeah.
It's a great advertisement
It
for the
is.
U.S. military. So, all that's to say, we're not immune from it either.
No.
It is just, it's something to, like, bring up and talk about.
And I think famously the U.S. has been really good about propaganda.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we are astoundingly good.
We're amazing at it.
Yeah. I mean, look at World War II. Look
Yeah.
at Vietnam and all of literally the entire Middle East issue.
Yeah. I mean, we have famously started so many conflicts based on the idea of hunting terrorists or hey, we're just in there fighting terrorists or whatever.
Yep.
Because it doesn't sound good to be like, wow, we just need some more oil, so we're gonna go blow up, you know, the Middle East.
Yep. Yep. Which is exactly why we did it.
I mean, that's what that is Vietnam, right?
Oh, 100%.
The U.S. has this whole propaganda machine of films and TV shows and things that make it seem like that Rambo 2 is basically let's go win Vietnam, right? It's let's try again.
It's the what if we actually won?
What if we won Vietnam? You know, even though that was a disaster and we had no business being there.
It was literally. That's the thing with a lot of the wars that the U.S. gets involved in. A lot of the times, it's just not our fucking business.
Yeah.
Right? We're not the cops of the world.
Right.
Just like mind your business.
Yeah. But that is just to say, nobody's immune from propaganda. And I'm not saying that Jackie Chan should, you know, be canceled or go to jail or whatever.
Right.
I'm just saying, when you watch his films, it's something to think about, right?
Yes.
It's something to think about with everything. Like, what is this movie? And I'm not talking about Police Story necessarily, but what is this movie trying to tell you?
Yes.
You know? And how is it doing so? And do you agree with that?
Yes.
And I think it's just important to think about stuff like that.
And, you know, for the longest time, I either had a hard time doing that or I just wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
But then I think when I met you and when I met my roommate Lissa, because, you know, you're a big film guy.
Right.
And then, you know, she's an English major. And so you both look at media and analyze media in such a, like, unique way.
Sure.
And I don't, because I'm a theater guy.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you can still apply it to theater.
Right.
But with movies, I never really looked into that. And then all of a sudden, I would watch movies with you or with Lissa or with both of you, and you all would just point things out, and I would go, huh, interesting.
I mean, it's
and that's not a bad thing.
No.
I think it's actually really been a good thing for me watching a lot of these movies now that I used to love. Because like with Shanghai Noon, I never thought about the politics of it.
Right.
I just thought it was a funny movie.
Yeah.
But then I recently watched it, and I was sitting there and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And it's starting to just click.
Yeah, I mean, I think what people don't... There is a group of people who do not want to acknowledge that film in particular, and TV shows, it's a piece of text, right?
Yes.
And in the same way that you can read a book and you go, I get what the author is saying, on the surface, and then I can read below the surface and see where this is going. Movies are the same, right? Because films they're not just about the plot, right?
Right.
And you can just watch a thing for the plot and enjoy it, and that's fine.
Yep.
But a lot of things, it's like, what is the movie about in terms of, what's going on? But then what is the movie about insofar as what is the deeper meaning to this?
Right.
Is this just a movie about a cop and he's silly and whatever? Or is there something to be said about where the story is going? And even if you're not going to look at that, there's something to be said for how is this movie shot? How is it? How does it sound? How does it look? And there's so many, it's all text. You just look at it and you can put together a picture.
Yep.
And I think there is people who are resistant to that because they're like, no, it's just my mindless entertainment. Don't make me think about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you don't want to think about it, don't think about it. Fine. I can't make you think about it. But there are a lot of people who watch a lot of things and just miss the fucking point.
Yes.
And it's like, if you would take more than a second to just look at the whole thing, you would see something there, right?
Yep.
And I think part of that is understanding the politics and the backgrounds of the people who make the movies you watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hate to be the guy that's always like, oh, this guy sucks. I hate everything sucks. Everybody sucks.
Yeah.
But when you talk about when we talked about Conan the Barbarian, when you watch that, you need to understand that the guy who wrote it and the guy who directed it were these ultra conservative, masculine to the nth degree, gender role, loving dudes, weirdos, fucking freaks, and it puts the movie in context. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think, I'm a buzzkill sometimes, but it is about knowing what movies are trying to tell you.
Yeah, it's very important.
Yeah.
And I just, those people that always, when somebody makes a piece of media like a TV show or a movie or whatever, and they put in these political statements that are overt, it's not like a read between the lines, it's right there in your face. Those people that are always like, oh, keep politics out of my stuff, don't realize, and I think we've said this on the show before, but they don't realize that politics have always been a part of art.
Oh yeah.
From the very beginning until the very end. Right?
Yep.
Look at, X-Men.
Yeah.
That's just an allegory for people of color, the LGBT community, the disabled community, all this stuff. It's always been political.
Yep.
Always. Look at the writers, the original writers of Superman. Jewish.
Yeah.
Right? They've always been political.
And it's always been even the one that people love to point out, which is Star Wars.
Oh my god.
Star Wars is so coded in politics.
Yep.
But it's disguised well enough that you don't notice it. But that doesn't mean it's not there. The goddamn villains are called stormtroopers, which is what the Nazis called their elite fighting force. Were stormtroopers. It's not. He's not even trying to hide it. Really,
no.
It's just
isn't Star Wars supposed to be Isn't the Empire supposed to be the U.S.
Yes.
And then the Resistance supposed to be the Viet Cong?
Yes. Look at Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi, especially all the stuff on Endor, is
Yeah.
about Vietnam.
Yeah.
It is about this scrappy, folksy fighting force
Yeah.
who defeat this
Imperialistic.
imperialist force with sticks and rocks and, like fighting in the jungle, right?
Right.
That's even the just whatever. But it's just one of those things. It's like you can acknowledge it or not, but it's still there. You know? It's like even something as blatant as The Boys. People miss the villain in that could not be more Trump.
Yeah.
He has his fucking haircut.
Yeah.
And people are still like, nuh-uh.
No.
That's not what it's about. Yes, it is.
Literally.
If the creator has to literally come out and be like, I'm going to spell it out for you. The villain is Trump.
Yeah.
I think that's who it is.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. Did you see? This was the funniest shit ever. I guess for Pink Floyd's 50th anniversary of their...
Was it The Wall?
Maybe it's the record with the prism on it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They made this cool little logo. It's still the prism, but it has 50 in it, and the 50 has the rainbow in it.
Oh yeah.
So many people were like, "Oh, no longer listening to Pink Floyd. Oh, why are you going woke? Is there a straight flag?" And it's like, can you guys, for just a goddamn minute, please, for the love of God, look at the original album cover art of that.
Yeah.
Because it's the white light going into a prism. It's literally, that's just how science works.
Yeah.
Right? But they were so up, and I hate this. It bugs the shit out of me. Because it's like, they're... Get it through your thick fucking skulls, you fucking Neanderthals. It's not that difficult.
No. Yeah, there is. But I think what you're touching on is there is a point where you can take that a little too far.
Yes.
And you are looking for things with no evidence of
right.
it being there. And like a good example in real life, the Olympics just happened.
Yes.
And a bunch of people lost their shit at the opening ceremony because they thought it was making fun of the the Last Supper.
Oh yeah.
And it was like it could not have been more blatantly not the Last Supper.
Yeah.
I don't remember Judas having purple hair,
Yeah.
but apparently nobody else did.
Yeah, also sitting half naked on a fucking table.
Yeah. And they're like, well, just whatever. There's a million different things to talk about there, but it's like it is that where it's like, oh, okay. That you're looking for something there that isn't there. You know?
Yeah. It's read literally any other piece of mythos from literally any other culture.
No.
And you're gonna realize that Christianity was stolen from everybody.
Christianity is like literally the main traditions that are public in Christianity, thinking Christmas, Easter, whatever. They have some foundation in, biblical whatever. But a lot of them are co-opted from pagan tradition.
Yeah.
That, just over time they merge together. There's no,
Jesus wasn't born in December.
He was not born in December.
He was born in the goddamn, what was it, the spring or something?
Probably the spring, yeah.
Right, it just makes more sense in the timeline of events that happened.
Yeah. But it was put together to kind of mix up with Yule and the winter solstice and that sort of thing.
Which, to be honest, okay, so my family grew up, we weren't pagan, but we grew up celebrating Yule instead of Christmas because we were like, Christmas doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And growing up celebrating Yule and because we had this fun little story about the Sun King and all this being reborn.
Yeah.
It just makes more sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense that in this, at least for the pagans, that the Sun King is dying and being reborn.
Yeah.
And it's the start of renewal.
Yeah.
Right? So you have the super long night, right? And everybody, that's why you burn the Yule log, is because the Sun King has died, and so you're trying to have as much light and warmth as possible.
Yeah.
But then when he's reborn, you start celebrating that. And that's kind of what Astara is celebrating, we're in the middle of all of this, and it's the spring equinox, and there's new life, and everything is great. Then you get to the summer solstice, which is celebrating like the height of it. You get the longest day, and then it starts going back downhill, and then you just repeat the process.
Yeah.
And it's very fluid and dynamic, and it just makes more sense than let's celebrate some jackass that lived over 2,000 years ago's birthday.
Yeah. I don't know.
We really lost the plot there, but that's okay.
We got into Christian nationalism somehow.
Yeah.
Big hot topic here in the U.S.
Yeah.
Oh, we're dying. Anyway.
I know. Good movie.
Good movie. Good time.
Yep. Complicated things.
A little bit, but that's okay.
That's fine.
That's life.
Yep.
Life is not simple, as much as we'd all like it to be.
知道。快点！哦。
Let's cut this motherfucker.
Excellent.
What would you rate this movie out of 10?
8.
Beautiful.
I'm gonna go a little bit lower than the average audience score. I'm gonna go 8.
Yeah.
It's good. I had a fun time, but like you said, a lot of the like that. I was when you brought up the whole pie in the face thing.
Yeah.
I do think that was overdone a little bit.
Yeah.
And then yeah, some of the jokes it just didn't land. Again, it is a product of its time, so obviously there's pretty rough like sexism and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But you know, acknowledging all of that, I still think it was a fun movie. Jackie Chan obviously is, you know, very good at comedy, and he's very good at action and martial arts.
Yeah.
I think the action in this was really well done, especially in that mall fight.
Oh, yeah.
It was really, really good. And so, yeah, a solid 8.
I agree with you. That's exactly what I was going to say is an 8. And the main reason is just that it's not my favorite Jackie Chan movie. Yeah. I think it is a great movie.
Mm-hmm. There are better Jackie Chan
but there
movies,
are it's no Drunken Master 2. That's all I'm saying.
Fair enough.
Or what is it? Wheels on Meals. Yeah.
Wheels on Meals.
Yeah, as opposed to Meals on Wheels.
Oh.
It's Wheels on Meals. That's a fun one. That's a
Really?
good one. We'll watch that at some point because that has the other. I think they're called the Three Tigers or something like that. Anyway, that has Sammo Hung and Yen Biao. So
gotcha.
we'll talk about that at some point.
Some point.
Also, I think I got his name wrong. Hold on.
Yeah, 8 out of 10 for me. What's what? Oh, it's the.
No, I was right. Yen Biao.
Yen Biao.
Anyway. Yes. So, yeah. 8 out of 10 for me, baby.
Let's go.
Okay.
One of these days, we're gonna like wildly differ.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that movie.
Yeah, I'm waiting for you to give something like a 9, and I'm just out here like it's a fucking 3. What are you talking about?
I'll find something wacky. Don't you worry.
Yeah, we're gonna get there.
I'm waiting because sort of the progression I wanted to take with this show was we start sort of easy, right?
Yeah,
a lot of big blockbuster films, whatever. And we're sort of building our way towards the wacky shit.
Yeah.
And eventually I want to watch something fucked. Like, just
absolutely
like
off the rails, bonkers insane.
Like, occasionally we watch, something terrible. But I want to watch something just nutty. Something wild.
Batshit insane.
I'm setting... we're sort of past the... I feel like I've set the foundation.
Yep.
Now we're sort of building the walls,
Yeah.
And once we're in the house, it's going to get wacky. I just can't wait.
I'm waiting. I'm excited for the day I come in here and my first words out of my fucking mouth are what in the actual shit.
Like, I got a couple in the
chamber.
In the chamber.
ready.
But I'm waiting.
Okay.
Once we get past episode 50, I might start unleashing some nonsense on you.
Excellent. Oh, I'm ready. Bring it on.
So, yeah. Anyway, that brings us to everybody's favorite section of the show. It's Editor's Picks. Sounded like, what's his name? Salacious Crumb
Yeah.
from Star Wars.
Yeah.
Anyway, what do you got?
Fuck, I don't know.
I got something. If
Yeah, go for it.
So, it's September 1st as we record this.
Yep.
We are heading into football season.
Ooh.
So college football started yesterday, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
I think it sort of started last week, but then it's like official start was yesterday.
Nice.
NFL starts next week.
Ba-bum.
So I got football on the mind.
Excellent.
So I was trying to think of what's a good football movie. The obvious one that everybody would go for is Remember the Titans. I think that's a great movie.
Never seen it.
But what I'm going to hit you with, there's a movie from, I think it's like 2002, 2003. It's called The Replacements. Stars one Keanu Reeves.
Ooh.
It's sort of a weird movie because it's about, the basic plot is that there's a football team who doesn't have any players because the players have gone on strike. And so, which, like, if you think about it, you're like, oh, so this is about a strike breaker group. But anyway, it's sort of I was going to say Magnificent Seven style. It's not really. It's just sort of one of those, like, oddball sort of comedies where they need to, like, quickly get a bunch of players to, like, fill out the team. So they get Keanu Reeves as the quarterback. They get Jon Favreau to play one of the one of the linemen. They get like a sumo wrestler to be like the center. They get a English, or I think he's like English or Scottish guy to be like the punter.
Oh yeah,
because he's like he used to play like soccer. It's just a good fun movie. It's just a real cast of characters.
Nice.
It's funny. It's like heartwarming. It's one of those where it's like it's got like a 20% on Rotten Tomatoes. But,
yeah.
I think that's just because it is quite generic, but I think it's a very good, like funny, heartwarming kind of throwback film. Like if you love any kind of early 2000s action comedy romance thing, I think you'll get a kick out of it.
Yeah.
So that's my pick. The Replacements.
Going off of sports, She's the Man.
Oh, yeah.
2006 film.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
It is a Shakespeare... I'm not going to say adaptation.
Sort of. But it follows Shakespeare's Twelfth Night play. It does. Yeah.
Fantastic. It is kooky. It is funny. Hold on.
Isn't it Amanda Bynes?
Yes, Amanda Bynes. It has American heartthrob Channing Tatum.
That's right. He is in
that. He plays Duke.
Yes. God, that's 2 movies he's in where he's named Duke.
Yeah. And then you got like Laura Ramsey and all the other stuff. But yes, She's the Man. It's fantastic. It's hilarious.
Yes.
Gender swapping
yes.
shenanigans. Highly, highly recommend. And especially if you're a fan of like Shakespeare or any of the sort of like the older like plays and dramas and that kind of stuff. Oh man, it's good.
There was a whole spate, I feel like, in the early 2000s of like Shakespeare adaptations.
Oh yeah,
like because 10 Things I Hate About You is Taming of the Shrew. I think.
I believe. Yep.
And then there was the Romeo and Juliet, by Baz Luhrmann
with Leo.
Yeah, and then there was the She's All That, or She's All That.
Nope.
That might also be a Shakespeare. I don't know.
That could be.
No, what did you just say?
She's the Man.
She's the Man. Yes.
Yeah.
Dear God.
Yeah.
My brain.
And it's about soccer. It's not about football.
Yes.
It is about soccer. She's a soccer player. Football. And yeah, she's a soccer player.
Yeah.
But then there's no team that she can play on, so she poses as a man to play on the men's team.
Yeah.
And then everybody finds out. Laughs ensue.
Yeah. It's a good movie.
It's fantastic. It's a really good time.
Heartwarming.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
Good
Channing
time.
Tatum.
Channing
Tatum is there. He's wonderful.
Channing Tatum.
I think if you get any, I think people should watch more of Channing Tatum, and I think Channing Tatum should be in more stuff because he's just a powerhouse.
My favorite Channing Tatum role is when he is not on the cast list and then he shows up in the middle of a movie. Mm-hmm. Love it. Yep. I haven't seen Deadpool and Wolverine yet. I know he's in it. Spoiler alert. And just the clips I've seen of him in that, I know that's the best part of the movie. So I'm waiting to see that. But like he's got a cameo in Bullet Train, which is amazing. Like it's the funniest thing he's ever. Doesn't he play like there's like a weird like gay guy who like keeps trying to suck everybody's dick or something?
Yeah, which is hilarious because Channing Tatum is actually bisexual.
Yes, he is. Yeah,
and he's also in Kingsman.
He's in Kingsman
3.
Oh
He's there for like 5 minutes and he gets frozen.
Yes,
and doesn't get unfrozen till the end of the movie.
He's such a good cameo.
Yeah.
Or no, it's in 2, isn't it?
Is
He's
it
like
2?
Right at the start.
Yeah.
And he gets frozen.
Sorry. Yes. Yeah. 2.
Yeah, and then he comes out like right at the end.
Yeah.
And it's mostly a Pedro Pascal movie through the rest of it. Yeah, he's great.
He's fantastic.
I love Channing Tatum.
A really good Channing Tatum movie, Step Up.
Step Up is great.
Oh, it's so good. He is a fan. Like I know people are like, oh, Magic Mike. Nah. Step Up.
Magic Mike's a great movie, though.
I've never seen it.
It's very good.
Is
it's
it really?
solid as hell. Yeah.
All right, I'll have to watch it.
Just like his abs. It's solid as hell.
Yeah.
Second one, I've heard is terrible. So
really?
Yeah. Or second and third one. There's 3, I think. The third one is atrocious, but I've heard the second one's not as good.
Yeah.
What else is? Oh, 21 Jump Street.
Oh,
and 22 Jump Street are both good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just good. Love Channing Tatum.
Yeah. Apparently, from what I know, I haven't done too much research on it, but apparently he's a pretty good guy. So.
Yeah, I've heard he's nice.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So that's my pick.
That's all I got.
That's all I got too.
Thanks for listening to Viva La Channing Tatum. Channing Tatum.
So true. Our Lord and Savior.
Our Lord and Savior Channing Tatum. He's the new patron saint of this podcast.
Yeah.
We should watch G.I. Joe.
Let's do it.
The original one. I love that film. Like, that came out right when I was, like, the perfect age. I was, like, 12 when that came out.
That was me with Transformers.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, my God.
And so I'm like, this is... I think that's one of those movies where if we ever did cover it, I'd be like, I can't be objective.
Yeah.
This is, like, my childhood. I just have to love it. I can't...
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much for listening.
Yeah.
If you like this show, leave us a nice review.
Yeah.
5 stars. Really helps out the show. You can leave that review right in your podcasting app of choice. A written review helps attract people to the show.
Yep.
If you're listening on YouTube, which nearly 600 of you are,
that's crazy.
That is crazy. Leave a comment, like the video, subscribe. That would be super cool.
That'd be really awesome. Comment.
Did you say cum?
Yes.
I was coughing.
We've been edging this entire time. You're allowed to come now.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
No, I said comment.
Oh, sorry. I just said cum. Anyway, feel free to come. And if you want to...
oh my God.
If you could share...
Jesus Christ.
Not this clip, but the rest of the film. I mean, the podcast. I'll forget it. Just cut it. Let's all go home. I'm done.
I'm dizzy.
I'm not going to host this anymore.
Oh, man.
Because all I've eaten today was some Pop-Tarts and jelly beans.
Oh, my God.
Anyway.
There's a Google form.
There's a Google form in the description
that you can fill out to give us a recommendation.
Give us some recommendations.
You can also email us or DM us.
Yes.
Viva La Action
at gmail.com.
And then Viva La Action at Instagram, Facebook, TikTok,
YouTube, your mama's house. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it.
We've fallen off.
If you want a sticker, we still got stickers. Send us an email. We'll send you one for free. Follow us on all the things.
Also, all you scamming bitches, stop it.
Yeah, stop emailing us. We're not going to do whatever. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
We don't need more followers.
Yeah.
We got 600.
That's honest to God, that's so many.
That's crazy.
Like, okay, imagine right now we're in like an auditorium and there's 600 people.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I gotta show you we're at the end of the show. I shouldn't be derailing. But I gotta show you the follower we just got on
oh boy.
On Instagram. I gotta show you his name. Because I
boy.
thought it was or not his name, but his profile. Look at the description on his profile. Can't read that out loud.
No.
But, yeah.
That's pretty funny.
And his name is Woo Jumbo.
Well, what's up, Woo Jumbo?
What's up, Woo Jumbo? Oh, he just liked our most recent post. Did you see my funny Photoshop I did?
I did.
Thank you.
That was pretty good.
That. Anyway, that's it.
Yep.
If you want to find Grayson, you'll find them on the moon. And if you want to find me, I'll be riding a shopping cart like it's a horse, yelling "Yippee!" through the grocery store parking lot.
Yep.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
What did I just do?